MacArthur was an interesting character. He was involved, obviously, in the part of the process of getting the United States to go replunder the plunder. When he spoke at West Point in May of 1962, he had a very interesting speech and a very interesting set of comments of spaceships to the moon, of the primary target in war no longer being limited to the armed forces of an enemy, but instead to include his civil populations, of ultimate conflict between a united human race and the sinister forces of some other planetary galaxy, of such dreams and fantasies as to make life the most exciting of all times. That's a lot of stuff that he said there. And MacArthur was probably privy to some of the things that were going on by 1962 with some of that financing. So what we heard here was space stuff. There was references to geoengineering, which suggests a type 1 civilization moving into it. We heard transhumanism in here, expanding life into hundreds of years. And interestingly, an outside threat. Of course, this was echoed by Reagan, which we'll touch on a little later. And Bill Clinton recently was on the Jimmy Kimmel Show, said pretty much the exact same thing. And it just makes me wonder, I wonder if the threat that they keep talking about from outer space is actually the return of Jesus Christ.
So times are a little more lucid these days. But in any case, I can remember Walter using any excuse. He would get to Luke 21:26, and he'd quote this: "Men's heart failing them for fear, and looking after those things which are coming upon the earth." And whenever he did that, he always gestured with his hand. Men's hearts failing themselves for fear, and looking after those things which are coming upon the earth. And he'd make a sort of an inverted saucer with his hand as it was landing. He'd say, "Coming." He'd just gesture with it. He saw UFOs here, and for the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And I'm not to say he's wrong, but we used to always smile. Walter, get off that subject. Anyway.
And again, the enemy pulling me. The next night, it was a very cold winter night in Israel in January. 3:30 in the morning, my bed was all wet. I was shaking all over. And God spoke to me through a cloud. Now, a cloud is not shiny, but this cloud was shiny. God spoke my name 2 times, and he said, Zev, Zev, Yeshayahu Nun Gimel, Ze HaMashiach Shel Israel. Isaiah 53 is the Messiah of Israel. And boom, it hit me right there, the Holy Spirit. And growing up as an Orthodox Jew, you're told that you have privileges, that, we're very prideful growing up that way, and that you deserve everything because you're Jewish. But I never felt the presence of the Father. This was the first time through Yeshua that I felt what it is to have a relationship with God. I was born again. I was on fire.
Anglican pastor or Lutheran pastor,
I think Lutheran, yeah.
Reverend Ray Boucher, who was a ufologist and was contacted by a group who said that they represented a secret think tank inside the government that called itself the Collins Elite. It's an unofficial name, refers to the hometown of one of the guys in the group. But they were convinced by that book from, was it 1905, 1910, I think, The Devils and Evil Spirits of Babylonia, that the contact that had been made by extraterrestrials with people on Earth was so similar to what they had read in that book that they were convinced that they were demonic. Mm-hmm. Now, they took it a step too far and said that we all had to go back under Old Testament law in order to protect our souls from these soul-sucking aliens. But the fact is, the book does have some historic value.
Whitley Strieber, in his classic account of an alien encounter in the book Communion, records his experience with these entities, stating, quote, "I became entirely given over to extreme dread. The fear was so powerful that it seemed to make my personality become evaporate. Whitley ceased to exist. What was left was a body in a state of raw fear so great that it swept about me like a thick, suffocating curtain, turning paralysis into a condition that seemed close to death. I died and a wild animal appeared in my place." End quote. Then, in a later release in a book entitled Transformation, The Breakthrough, he dives deeper into the experience, stating, quote, "Increasingly, I felt as if I were entering a struggle that might even be more than life and death. It might be a struggle for my soul, my essence, or whatever part of me might have reference to the eternal. There are worse things than death, I suspected. So far, the word demon has never been spoken among the scientists and doctors who were working with me. Alone at night, I worried about the legendary cunning of demons. At the very least, I was going stark, raving mad." End quote. Then later in the same book, he states, quote, "I felt an absolutely indescribable sense of menace. It was hell on earth to be there in the presence of these entities. And yet I couldn't move, couldn't cry out, couldn't get away. I lay as still as death, suffering inner agonies. Whatever was there seemed so monstrously ugly, so filthy and dark and sinister. Of course they were demons. They had to be. And they were here and I couldn't get away." End quote.
Trzecie objawienie było szczególnie wstrząsające. I to nie dlatego, że lipiec jest najgorętszym miesiącem. Chodziło o wyjawienie tajemnicy. Odbyło się to właśnie 13 lipca 1917 roku. Cała tajemnica zostaje wyjawiona podczas tego objawienia. Nie ma trzech tajemnic, jest tylko jedna. Pierwsza część to wizja piekła. Pastuszkowie widzą je w symbolicznej postaci, którą rozumieją. Piekło to morze ognia, w którym smażą się dusze grzeszników. Matka Boska powiedziała wtedy do dzieci: "Widzieliście piekło, do którego idą dusze biednych grzeszników. Żeby je ratować, Bóg chce rozpowszechnić na świecie nabożeństwo do mego niepokalanego serca." I teraz zaczyna się druga część tajemnicy. To ciekawe, bo podkreśla się wagę niepokalanego serca Maryi. Będziemy je czcić, szukając drogi do Boga.
I lay in the bed, still hoping something would happen. Suddenly I saw a light up in the front yard. It was a bright, beautiful white light shining on the grass like moonlight, but 10 times brighter. I got up and looked out the window, and this light with rays coming out of it, and the rays penetrated my body, some of them, and I could taste his presence in the rays. It was the most extraordinarily beautiful experience I've ever had.
Co się dzieje? Jestem w środku. W środku czego? Nie wiem, mój umysł jest wewnątrz. Wszedłem tam. Byłem w środku. Wszystko w porządku? Jest ich chyba ze 20. Jak wyglądają? Plamy niebieskiego światła. Nawiązałem kontakt. Prowadziliśmy dialog. Kim oni są? Zbliżają się, rosną. Mleczno-białe światła zniżają się i unoszą. Wyżej jest coś większego. Otwiera się jakaś luka. Widzisz coś w środku? Nie. Co to znaczy? Miałem kontakt z inteligentną istotą.